Hey, what's going on, gang? This is Nate on the Stone. Welcome back to my channel, and this week we are looking at the Katie Hill scandal. Katie Hill was part of the millennial blue wave that overtook the House of Representatives last year in November. She was part of the same blue wave that actually gave us AOC and the rest of her squad. At 32 years old, Hill was another poster child for the popular slogan, "The future is female," and she just happened to be California's first openly bisexual representative. Another historic moment!
And there was much rejoicing.
But all things must come to an end, and Hill's star fell just a year after winning her House seat. Last month, in October, the conservative website Red State ran a story which accused Hill of having an affair with a man named Graham Kelly, her legislative director. That would be her main advisor on all legislative issues, which is a big no-no now in Congress, especially in light of the Me Too movement. Red State published another story, which said that Hill, her now estranged husband, Kenny Heslop, and a 22-year-old staffer, Morgan Desjardins, had formed a ménage à trois. In plain colloquial English, they were a throuple. Back in 2017, very soon after Desjardins became a staffer for Hill, and pretty soon after Hill announced her intention to run for the House of Representatives. And the story came complete with pictures, including one of a naked Hill brushing Desjardins' hair, and another one of a naked Hill, where she's holding a bong, where it appears that she has a Nazi Iron Cross tattoo on her bikini line. And as if this whole thing couldn't get even more creepy and awkward, according to the UK Daily Mail, Hill and Heslop had posted some of these naked pictures to an online thread entitled, "Would You F My Wife?"
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Now, Hill denied the affair with Graham Kelly, her legislative director, but did admit to the affair with Desjardins. She claimed that the naked pictures had been taken without her permission and that Red State and the UK Daily Mail had received them from Heslop, who actually filed for divorce this year in 2019. The House Ethics Committee still opened up an investigation into whether or not Hill had had an affair with her legislative director, and that investigation started on October 23rd. But only 4 days later, Hill announced that she was actually resigning from Congress. What is fascinating about this story is the narrative that Hill gave to it. In her resignation speech, Hill actually said this:
"I am leaving now because of a double standard. I am leaving because I no longer want to be used as a bargaining chip. I'm leaving because I didn't want to be peddled by papers and blogs and websites used by shameless operatives for the dirtiest gutter politics that I've ever seen, and the right-wing media to drive clicks and expand their audience by distributing intimate photos of me taken without my knowledge, let alone my consent, for the sexual entertainment of millions. I'm leaving because of a misogynistic culture that gleefully consumed my naked pictures, capitalized on my sexuality, and enabled my abusive ex to continue that abuse, this time with the entire country watching."
You'll notice here, gang, that Hill didn't say that she was resigning because of an ethics committee investigation into her. No. She was resigning because of a misogynistic double standard which had devoured her naked pictures and then cast her into the outer darkness. Translation: she's the victim. And this is the narrative that was latched onto and circulated by all the ideologues on the left. Jessica Bennett over at the New York Times wrote that Hill's case was quote-unquote complicated because while it was true that she was accused of having an affair with her legislative director and admitted to having an affair with her staffer, for which Bennett says she was probably right in resigning, she was too a victim because she was the target of revenge porn. The fact that she also seems to have a Nazi Iron Cross tattoo was tactfully left unmentioned. On Twitter, Ashley Nicole Black, a comedian and actress, said this, quote, "Been trying to figure out why I was bummed about Katie Hill's quick resignation, and I think I've got it. It cut off the longer conversation we could have had about a lot of things we need to talk about. Revenge porn, workplace harassment, bisexuality, double standards, etc., etc." Oh, and if you're thinking that Hill was actually the author of her own destruction, feminist Jill Filipovic wants you to know that you are the reason why women don't report abuse, saying on Twitter, quote, "To everyone being like, well, Katie Hill shouldn't have taken nude photos. You are the reason more women don't run for office. you are the reason women don't report the kind of abuse Hill's ex has inflicted on her. But there are several things wrong with this narrative.
I'm shocked.
As proof that she was being forced to resign because of a misogynistic double standard, Hill, in her farewell speech, said this:
I'm leaving, but we have men who have been credibly accused of intentional acts of sexual violence and remain in boardrooms, on the Supreme Court, in this very body, and worst of all, in the Oval Office.
Which might actually be a compelling comparison if it was actually true. Plenty of male congressmen have either resigned their seats or refused to stand for re-election because they were accused and or guilty of sexual abuse and harassment. People such as Patrick Meehan, Reuben Cahuin, Trent Franks, and Denny Hastert. And let the record also show that today, a man just has to be accused of sexual impropriety and he is immediately scrubbed out of polite society, as just recently happened with the opera tenor Placido Domingo. And because she brought it up in her speech, and because I can't let this slide, as of today, there is still no evidence to support any of the accusations brought against Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation hearing to the Supreme Court last year. This contrast between Hill's narrative and the actual facts reveals the real double standard that the ideologues on the left want to create. Today, when it comes to men, an accusation is the only thing that is needed for society to lay down the memoriam damnatio on you. When Kavanaugh was accused of sexual harassment by Dr. Christina Blasey Ford and others, ideologues said that the seriousness of the charges themselves made him unfit to sit on the Supreme Court, never mind that there was no proof. Placido Domingo being accused of sexual harassment by several women was enough for him to resign as the general director of LA Opera, which he actually helped found, as well as cancel all of his remaining tours and appearances for the rest of this year. But when it came to Hill, the equation was changed, even though there was actually definite proof of wrongdoing in this particular instance. Jill Filipovic said that Hill's affairs, quote, pale in comparison to what's been done to her, unquote. And Jessica Valencia, another feminist author, said, quote, resignation is just the latest in a recent spat of sexist winds, reminders that any progress feminism makes is sure to be met by a backlash that is just as strong. This itself is a double standard, creating two separate standards of conduct depending on whether you're a man or a woman. It's a double standard that the left is actually actively pushing. But in fact, it's even worse than that. Postmodern feminists and ideologues in general have been demanding that the patriarchy be dismantled because the future is female, which means that logically they want to see the patriarchy replaced with a matriarchy. But the problem is their matriarchy isn't a society that is even run on feminine virtues such as caring, comforting, and nurturing. Instead, it's a society that just gives women carte blanche to act like the worst of men. Look, have there been double standards in the past that hurt women? Absolutely. Have these double standards been against justice in general and Republican society in particular? Yes. But the answer is to fight to eradicate all of these double standards if you actually are genuinely seeking justice and equality in society. If you don't, all you're really fighting for is to replace the current rulers of society, or at least the people you think are the rulers of society, with yourself, where you can have all the power, but none of the duties. This is made crystal clear when you realize that what Hill was in effect doing in her farewell speech was blaming her fall entirely on men. But the trouble is, men didn't force her to have her affairs. Men didn't force her to have naked pictures taken of her. Who even does that? Who thinks that that's a good idea in our digital age today? And men didn't force her to resign from Congress a mere 4 days after the Ethics Committee opened up their investigation. Every single one of those decisions were Hill's and Hill's alone. Her attempting to shove all the blame onto men is her trying to escape all responsibility for her actions. Problem is, being free means not just acting like a free moral agent, but taking responsibility for the consequences of those actions. That's just one of the prices of freedom. Erasing that price means that women cannot be equal to or independent like men. Instead, they are preserved in bell jars as children, and Is that really what women signed up for when they signed up with feminism in the first place? Plus, if you're a member of Congress, making you one of the most powerful people in the country, and you're trying to shirk off your responsibility, that's probably a good sign that you were never a good candidate for that power in the first place. There are two more points to be made that are going to be controversial, to say the least. So let's dive right in. The first thing is that the ideological left's knee-jerk reaction to defending Hill shows, again, its dedication to the weakening and the destruction of the family. Let's just get one thing out of the way first. Hill and Kenny Heslop's marriage was a farce, and he deserves half of the blame for their marriage disintegrating. A husband and wife who actually genuinely love each other, they don't start throuples, and they don't post naked pictures of the wife onto an online thread entitled, "Would You F My Wife?" That's just part of real love 101, people. But it does take two to tango, meaning that Hill deserves just as much blame as Heslop, meaning that Hill and Heslop together destroyed their marriage and their family. But no ideologue on the left brought this up. In fact, Hill's role in causing the dissolution of her marriage and her family was recast as another reason why she was a victim. Emma Spector over at Vogue said, quote, "It's particularly troubling to see Hill, one of the first openly LGBTQ+ politicians elected to Congress, taken down by her personal life. It's a sad fact that the farther one's sexuality ranges from the norm, the more at risk one is of being targeted and hypersexualized," unquote. Charlotte Clymer, the trans woman press secretary for the Human Rights Campaign on Twitter, said, quote, "Katie Hill essentially being blackmailed into resigning because of sexual shaming and misogyny is a damning and horrific moment for the character of this country." But the ironic thing is that in attacking the family, the left is actually attacking women much more effectively than any double standard or the patriarchy ever could. Why? Well, because, to put it quite bluntly, it's in the family where the essence of a woman and the essence of a man, when we get right down to it, reach their zenith. Because in the family, women and men can become mothers and fathers, which are the roles that our very bodies say that we are to be. In the family, a man can channel his strength into providing and protecting for his wife and children, thus allowing him to actually sharpen himself into a genuinely masculine man. At the same time, the family allows a woman to exercise her unique and awesome ability to bring new life into the world in an environment where she knows that she and her offspring are going to be cared for and protected. By attacking the family, by making the multiple things that Hill and Heslop did no big deal, ideologues are attacking the core of what it means to be a man or a woman, since by attacking the family, they're attacking the sexual complementarity of men and women, and thereby attacking the very idea of men and women being sexual beings, which is kind of ironic, especially given the hypersexualized society that we live in. The second thing is this. Men are not going to be encouraged to change their behavior if women are allowed to act like the worst of men. Now, let me be 100% crystal clear here. I am not saying that men cannot be good or virtuous outside of the external guide of a woman. And I am not excusing men who act like pigs because somehow women are failing at their job of guiding men. No. Men are free moral agents just like women and can always choose to do the right and good thing regardless of external circumstances. What I am saying is that men can be encouraged to change their lives by a good woman because they want to reform their lives in order for them to be worthy of her. That's honestly part of the power of genuine love. But if women are allowed or even encouraged to act like the worst of men, men are going to lose that powerful incentive to channel. But if women are allowed or even encouraged to act like the very worst of men, then men are going to lose that powerful incentive to change their lives by channeling their maleness to the good. Because as they see it, if women are allowed to act this way, they might as well continue acting this way and keep playing the game. But what say you? Are the reactions to Katie Hill's resignations actually indictments of where our society is? Or is it just a case of another politician getting caught with their hand in the cookie jar and leaving before an ethics committee could actually get the dirt on them? As always, let me know your thoughts, your ideas, and opinions down in the comments section below. Well, that about wraps up everything for right now, gang. As always, if you liked the video, whether you agreed with me or not, don't forget to show your support by giving it a like, sharing it on social media, leaving a comment, and if you like videos about the culture, politics, and religion, but from a different POV, then don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications so you will always know when I post new videos like this every Tuesday. Videos you're not going to want to miss. As always, thank you for watching, for giving me a little bit of your day. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed, and I will see you again here next week, gang, on top of the stone. Ciao.